Hello and welcome back to Everybody Loves Raiken, our 5th edition live play that meets every Tuesday night. It happens to be Tuesday night. Last time, the party finally concluded their battle against the unprecedented and rather unpredictable Brendan. This denizen of the Feywild, who appeared in their way, his home laying across their path as they travel from Ilvathius to the domain of Zintharmil in an attempt to get back Raiken. And when they tried to reason with him, he claimed that the only way out was through, and that they would have to fight him. And fight him they did, in protest. Finally, after, sheesh, what do we get to, like 8 rounds of combat? 6 rounds, there it is, right on my screen. I can get rid of that, though. 6 rounds of combat. Long rounds. He was defeated, and took his leave of the party by announcing to them that they were incapable of killing him in a way that matters, upon which he turned into a mushroom and his house ran away.
All normal things.
Very normal. The party found itself left with, a oversized pug dog and a lot of confusion. And upon trying to keep this pug, learned suddenly that Leah is deathly allergic to dogs. And so, with heavy hearts, they led the dog to the side of the road and left it behind. They climbed into the Mendis' caravan and saw to their wounded as MamaMendis continued the journey through the Feywild. And so, we pick back up with our intrepid heroes as they stand around the room that was used the previous night by Cyrus for sleeping, as they have just learned that some of the parting words of this odd man, Brendan, which were, "I give you the gift of chaos," has done something magical to their sorcerer friend, and despite their best efforts and strongest spells, is not curable or removable, and seems to, as predicted, have a chaotic effect on the halfling's existence. As they witnessed him momentarily stop existing. Leah, very badly injured in the fight, is still resting and recuperating. I was looking for a better word, but recuperating. Was able to recover her spells and try a Dispel Magic, which produced, again, an unprecedented effect, where...
No, it wasn't a Dispel Magic I used
Cure
Curse.
remove curse.
Oh, remove
Yeah,
Curse.
yeah. Sorry, you're right. Remove curse. And it produced an effect of a fanfare of instruments, disembodied, non-diegetic, and a light show that of, like, prestidigitation or minor illusion, which announced success, and then quickly announced the absence of that success. And so this is how the party has come to the determination that it is currently beyond their power to remove this chaos from Cyrus. So, as you please, the party is gathered in this room. Leah, I do believe that you're still a little out of it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You've
I'm not flooded anymore.
Yeah. Cyrus is, of course, very confused by the situation, as is everyone. You've been in the room about an hour, and MamaMendis have informed you that you were gone quite a while into the Purple Barrier. So I'll give you a few moments to talk amongst yourselves in character to kind of set the scene before I drop anything more on you. As I imagine that this Cyrus thing still needs to conclude.
Well, things don't seem to be on fire.
Anymore.
That seems good.
All the fires have been put out, right?
Yes.
Or like he says that, and there's like a little fire next to him, and he just like slaps it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there are no fires. Kind of look around.
I have a weird thought. You know, it said he couldn't kill him in any meaningful way. I wonder if he is the thingy that's inside of you.
I don't know.
I know you don't,
I'm
but
not
there was
letting you kill me to find out. I've been through that once before.
Why the hell would I do that?
I don't know. You're the one talking about him dying and now being me or in me or... Ugh.
Why would we need to kill you for that when we have magic that asks questions of powerful entities?
Because I forget about that sometimes.
But
it is quicker to kill you, but...
You do the magic doodahs. Why would you forget something like that?
Because he doesn't do that magic.
Oh. That's right. He likes to just do the blowy up the stuff, right?
I mean, it is extremely useful.
It is.
Jebel or Vendar, do you have anything you'd like to contribute?
I'm thinking.
Fair enough.
MamaMendis, do you think if this is contagious, like, he could pass it on to us?
I wouldn't sleep with him.
It seems very deeply bound to him. I suppose we could ask, but it isn't. We know it's not a disease. We know it doesn't function in the same way as a curse or almost any other ailment that can inflict a person.
Well, I trust your knowledge. I just thoughts, because it's a very odd situation.
Maybe Brendan's inside him.
Well, he had a good run. Jebel is going to grab the sides of Cyrus's head and just look into his eyes. You know,
the second
examining.
you try and grab me, I'm pushing your hands away. Like, what are you doing?
Okay. It sounds like he's gonna fight you if you try to grab him. So, I mean, are you gonna contest?
Oh yeah, I want to have a look-see.
Okay. Are you okay with...
Tell him that?
Are you okay with contesting this? He is attempting to touch you, despite your protestations.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this was... Like, obviously... I'm making sure that
Frankly, if I didn't know what he was doing, I'm not sure I'd let him do it. So, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, no. I know. I wasn't asking if you were just letting him do it. I was asking that if you wanted this to be a contest.
Sure.
Okay. Then, I guess we'll go with strength, which should be entirely hilarious.
And just a strength check, I assume?
Yeah, it'll be a contested strength check, so d20 plus your strength modifier.
I believe that is an 11.
That's what you rolled?
Yep.
I got 13.
So, you all are sitting around, either standing or seated on, like, the edge of the bed or on the floor, as the gnome, druid, Jevil, skirts around over to where, Cyrus is seated sort of up where his pillow should be, as he's righted himself since the teleportation earlier, and suddenly, like, reaches out to try and grab Cyrus' face, and as he does so, you see Cyrus, sees this coming, grabs his hands, and there's this tussle, this wrestling, like, what do you stop? And finally, the gnome prevails, grabbing him around his ears and pulling his face in, so they're very close to each other, and you're looking into his eyes. What are you looking for?
I want to just see if anything seems out of the ordinary, if this is affecting him in a physical way that I can determine. Okay.
So a medicine check, then, to see if this is a physiological.
I like the idea, like, the gnome and the halfling are wrestling, and it is not impressive in any way.
No. Indeed. You're on about equal ground, so, like, it's just a miniature version of real fighting.
I feel like it somehow turns one of those little slap fights.
Possibly.
20.
A 20. Okay. From a physical standpoint, what kind of wounds did you take during the fight earlier, Cyrus?
Let me check my health. Not too bad. I'm down about 2/5.
Okay. So you're above bloody, if only by a bit. So what you see as you examine his face and his eyes, from a physiological standpoint, is that he's a bit tired and a bit, beaten and bruised from the fight. But you don't see any signs of like dilated blood vessels in the eyes or anything that might suggest that he's under the influence of any kind of drug that's affecting his other metabolic systems. He seems to be okay in that regard, and he's had an hour to rest since then, so he's clearly, like, regaining his equilibrium. But what you do notice as you are holding his face and he's struggling against you is that at uneven intervals, you will see that his eyes, which are normally, they're green, normally?
Yes.
Like a foresty dark green, like a light bright green?
I think a kind of a light
Baby
bright
poop?
green, kind of a a little bit in between, kind of emeraldy.
Emeraldy. Okay. Which are normally this, kind of bright green, very, reflective of the light, take on this pale glow and enter a more turquoise spectrum. And, it'll be in the 30 seconds that you're holding and struggling against him, you'll see his eyes pulse 4 or 5 times and for different amounts of time. There's nothing regular about it. It doesn't seem to match his heartbeat. It doesn't come every 5 seconds. It doesn't stay for 5 seconds every time. It's completely irregular and unpredictable.
Okay, I release him, and then I have 2 questions. One, Cyrus, the glowing eyes, is that new?
First question, does a 11 beat your AC?
Nope.
Alright, I tried to punch her in the face, but I miss.
Clearly this is a gnome who is familiar with
Wild animals.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I was going to say with struggling patience, but I was trying to find a better way of phrasing it, but yeah, wild animals. That's funnier.
Impatient patience.
True. Impatience.
Yes, the glowing eyes are no.
It's quite random. MamaMendis,
Yeah.
is chaos, and he does like air quotes around chaos, a thing?
In what way do you mean a thing?
Well, I mean, chaos exists as a concept, but like as a force or as a form of magic or something like that. I imagine you'd know more than I would about it, if it is a thing that exists.
Is that me rolling religion?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like it's either religion or arcana.
I mean, you could
Oh,
roll one and then the other to check to see if one gives you more insight than the other.
Okay, so
Or if it falls further into one category than the other.
that's fair. Let's try the religion first. Religion is a 23,
Not bad.
and the arcana
Only going to be a little higher, actually.
is a 28. I got the same number on both dice. Tens.
Amazing. You know that chaos is, of course, a widely accepted concept, that there are certain things in the universe that cannot be predicted, and, according to some philosophers, even understood at a base level. They just are, and they just happen. The more you think about this, the arcane concept is one of, how you overcome chaos and direct magic into your spells. But that always just assumes that chaos is a natural state of being and order is something that is imparted to the world and to magic by people and wizards, respectively. There is, beyond that, as you dive into the religious tomes of your knowledge, more mystical explanations, though, as implied by that, less well accepted, I would say. But there are those who believe that chaos is unto itself a force, and perhaps even a force of creation, something that is inexorable of the humanoid races because it was manifest and fundamental in the creation of the universe, this world, and the creatures that inhabit it. And so, mystically, there are those that believe that there is an entity, a god, a force, a consciousness that is choosing chaos, that is pushing existence toward entropy. But this is far less tangible and, of course, not interactable in the way that the other gods very clearly are. So, this is not a well-supported or favorably argued case. I hope that doesn't help you.
I mean, it's pretty in line with what I was expecting, so... and probably what I would have just mouthed off without rolling.
Same hat.
Chaotic answer for chaos.
That's the gist that Jebel gets. Probably more long-winded, and with, deviations into talking about particular, sects of people that are, well-known philosophers that have started to, make these kinds of arguments and
There you go.
things of that nature. So it's probably less helpful than what the voice in the sky said, if only because it's more confusing.
There's more, names drizzled on it. Sprinkled in.
Yeah, but I imagine what the voice in the sky said is what we managed to understand. Through all of the static.
I feel like that's probably a good way to To sum that up, yeah.
Well, I don't know what to make with any of that.
I mean, the answer is yes to your question.
No, that was Jebel saying that in character.
Oh, yeah. I apologize.
I think we'll need any more information that we can glean over time to come to any stronger conclusions about anything. We've exhausted most of the resources that can be addressed now.
And, almost as if your words were known to others, the door picks that moment to open, and, MamaMendis bustles into the room. You feel like you have to crowd away from her, and at the same time, as though the room does not become any more crowded than it already is. It is a very odd sensation. And she pushes the door open and moves in, and she has a metal tray, a baking sheet that has cookies on it. And she sort of just looks around the room at first, in silence, before settling into a welcoming smile, and saying, "Well, now that you're all back and we're on the road again, I thought you might like a snack."
And already has a cookie in his mouth.
And is feeding one to the ferret.
Yep.
And I guess she did not notice him taking it.
I doubt it.
She didn't stop him, but you don't know if she didn't notice him or not.
I'm just saying, I know, like, Wendar's base stats.
Yeah, you don't know what her perception is.
Sure. Yeah.
She's a mom. Her perception's got to be at least 20.
Now then.
That's not enough.
You all had a right time in there, didn't you?
Yeah, a lot of it, apparently.
I don't really want to talk about it.
Oh. Yeah. Now, you don't need to talk about anything you don't want to, darling. But, she kind of, like, looks over the group, but settles back on Leah pretty quickly, and you notice that she's, like, eye contact with her is being constantly broken as you find her eyes searching over your body. Almost too familiar. You feel like it gives you this sense of self-consciousness, the way she's looking over you. She says, "It seems that you've all received a couple bumps and scrapes. I think it'd be wise if I took some time to wrap them, if that's agreeable, son."
I think that would be most welcome, at least from me.
She smiles and nods at Larmendis before looking to each of the others in turn until they give her a sign of either acceptance or decline.
Sounds good to me. Also, I can't quite reach the cookies.
You know, it's so quick, you almost don't notice that her hands lower a few inches. and like, her expression doesn't change at all. She doesn't even look. Just zip.
I give her a nod, but I also want a cookie.
Tatsuya will also nod and then grab a cookie, eat it, then grab another cookie, then eat it, then grab another cookie, then eat it until he's had like 5 or 6.
I do believe that that'll finish off the cookies, and she brought in about a baker's dozen of them. And, you know, perhaps you're not used to it, but these don't magically reappear like some of the other foods that you've been having lately.
Tatsuya's like, I'm sorry, I really love cookies.
Oh, that's alright, dear. Now then, you look the most, she says, settling on Leah. Would it be alright if we start with you?
It's fine with me.
She's going to, like, kind of lean into the crowd, which seems to sort of part, even though some of you are not aware of stepping back. There just seems to be space for her to lean in. And she's going to hold out a hand as she, you know, maneuvers the empty cookie tray over people's heads with the other. We can go back to your room.
I nod.
I'll be back. You're all going to witness her gently help Leah up off the bed and shuffle out the door and down the hall a ways to the door that she inhabited the night before. Within, she is going to she's going to set down the cookie tray, a gesture for you to sit on the bed, and she's going to start going over the wounds that are most visible and obvious, ones that don't require messing with your armor or clothing at all. And as she ministrates over you, you'll notice that she pushed the door, but it's still ajar. And as I told you the other day, the walls of this building are paper thin.
So she didn't close the door entirely, is what I'm saying.
Right. It's closed enough that there's no way to see out into the hallway from here. But you know that it's still partly, like, cracked open. So you're all able to just kind of hear the muffled voices through the walls of the building as MamaMendis sees to Leah's wounds. And she says, well, most of these don't look too bad. I've got some balm and salves for the cuts and scrapes and the like. I do see that you're purpling up here pretty good, though. That's probably gonna be sore. We might need to confine it. I dare say, I'm curious. You don't get into spats like this often, do you?
More often than you think.
Are you trying to get me in trouble?
I don't know I just go through the wall.
Yeah.
Just whispers this to everyone in the room.
You're pretty well aware of what's being said by MamaMendis. Like I said, the walls are pretty thin.
Though I personally tend to be at a greater distance. I got unlucky.
I see.
This guy kept messing with us, like changing our places magically.
You definitely talk about these things that he was doing as though it's the norm for your dealings with others. Do you usually fight the people you talk to? Deal with a lot of people who use magic in this way?
I try not to start fights, but sometimes it's out of our control.
I see.
Especially when dealing with the undead.
Oh, do you follow one of those gods?
Oh no. No. But we find a lot of those.
You're... You're a hero, then? The stories talk about people travel around. I think the people on the Prime call it adventurous.
Yeah, there are some stories going around.
She's, wrapping, you see that she's, pulled out, a bag, that was slung over her shoulder and is, removing, like, glass vials from it, checking the labels on each, and then, now and then opening one, like, dumping a little into her palm, or sticking a finger in, and smearing something on your skin. Most of it smells pretty bad, or very strong, if not bad. And then, in most cases, putting a piece of linen over it just to keep it from smearing on other things as she talks to you. As I see. And, is that what you like doing? Helping, I assume? You're finding people to fight because they're dangerous?
Yeah, sometimes we help even those, like... We turned some drow good. Or, like, made people know they're good. Help them fit in a city, that's something that a lot of people wouldn't expect, I guess.
As you mention this, her hands still for a moment before she begins working again, but you notice that the sweet smile expression that she's worn since she entered the room earlier with cookies is entirely gone, and her expression is completely flat at this point, as though she is forcing all emotion from her face. And she says simply, as you finish, "Drow aren't good, dear."
Oh, but we managed to prove that wrong. There are definitely some out there that don't follow their goddess and want to just fit in.
She pulls one of these linen wraps tightly, and it kind of pinches a little as she does. Says, "Drow aren't good."
Well, we won't ever get progress if people are sticking on to those beliefs that things just are. There's no such thing as an absolute.
Is this progress going to bring back my daughter?
No, but not everyone is evil because of the acts of some.
I have a hard time seeing it that way.
I lost my parents to evil folk. Those were humans. I'm not gonna think all humans are evil for that sake.
She finishes wrapping a bandage and lets out what appears to have been a held breath as she settles in front of you, placing her hands on her knees, kind of lowering her face to be in line with yours as you sit on the bed. And you see that she is searching your eyes, seemingly looking for the words, putting them together one at a time, as she slowly says, "I don't have strength for that kind of forgiveness." I won't tell you how to live your life then, but I have very little patience for the world to catch up and change. And very
That's what
little
we do.
interest in forgiving the things that can't.
Well, we bring forth change, is what we do.
Was my boy with you when you saw these drow?
Yes. He was not quick to forgive either. I don't think he ever has.
She, reaches out and places an open palm on your cheek and just sort of lets the warmth transfer from her hand to your face for a moment before letting it slide down. Just kind of pinching your chin between thumb and forefinger a moment. And you kind of see that she's pushing a smile on. As well. You, that should help you for now. I'll come to check these later on tonight before you go to sleep.
Thank you for your assistance.
She seems to pause. You can tell that behind her eyes, a war is raging. You don't know exactly what she's thinking about, or what she's feeling, only that you know that she's struggling between saying more and leaving.
I assume I saw similar things in Nalia, so...
Not like this. There's something more to this, something about you. You know whatever's going on has to do with you.
Well then, we're just gonna avert eye contact and just kind of... Yeah, look awkwardly toward the floor.
As you break the eye contact, averting your eyes from the storm, you will hear her take in air suddenly and say, "Sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put that on you. I get up in my own head sometimes. It's...
It's okay.
She draws your eyes back to hers, and you can see she's looking very seriously. She says, "You haven't done anything wrong, darling. I need to take a breath. So please, lie here, and you get right better, and I'll bring you something nice to drink. Sound good?"
Yeah, thank you.
She's going to rise and move to the door, pulling it open before stopping and saying, "Again, you're fine, child. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry. What happens when you get old?" This woman looks to be in her 30s.
Yeah, but I know elves. That's weird. Yeah, but I didn't look back up after looking down.
You hear the door close. As she comes back into the room, you hear the soft clatter of the pie tin, the baking sheet, outside the room. And she says, "Boy, you're next."
I assume that means me.
You assume correctly. She stands in the doorway looking imperiously at you. "I'll get to each of you. Don't you worry. Mama's medicine bag is the best in all the plains."
You might not be surprised to find. I turn to everyone else. You might not be surprised to find out how frequently people in our family's line of work get injured. But
Sudden pain in your ear, and you are being tugged out of the room by it.
I follow.
You are led back to the room that you spent the previous night in. She sits you down briskly and begins a very anonymous examination of your injuries. How are they, by the way?
I'm at 67 out of 92. I think that most of my injuries were from... No, I didn't take any damage from being kicked in the beginning because I still had my shield.
Yeah.
I think all of my damage came from
Percussive maintenance?
percussive maintenance.
You
I don't remember what...
You got cracked in the face with a boot. So you just got this big old boot mark, up the side of your face. And
Literally imprinted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pulls out a vial and a wad of cotton and puts it in there. You know what's coming. It stings badly.
It always does.
And she's unusually quiet as she administers to this wound. How are you feeling since the darkness?
I think at this point, it would be difficult for most people to recognize that he had still been shaken, that he had been shaken.
Okay.
Given the interesting puzzle that had presented as a good distraction.
Certainly, but this isn't most people.
This is not most people. Let's find out. She can tell that there's something a little distant in his eyes, kind of thing.
And was she aware of the aftermath of that little prank?
I would be very surprised if she hadn't been.
So, after being roughly handled, she finds no injuries really to tend to other than your face, and, again, somewhat roughly handled there. You will hear her voice sounding distant of its own as she says, "You saw the doc again, didn't you?"
Only for a brief moment.
I know that look. As she dabs again at the wound and it stings the middle of your face. Are you alright?
I will be. It's been a bit of time since anything like that had happened, and we have other things to be focusing on.
Is going to finish dabbing at the wound. You're gonna hear her sigh as she recorks the vial. And then you're going to feel this warm weight as she sort of leans in and wraps her arms around you.
MamaMendis hugs back stronger than he usually does.
I always worried when you went away that something like that could happen again, and you wouldn't have anyone to help.
I'm fortunate now to have many people close by who I am close with. Should anything like that happen again?
Peace. fighters?
Yes, these friends of mine.
How long have you been with them?
What's it been, like 4 months?
It's like 3 or 4 months ago.
By any reasonable reckoning, too short a time. But we have seen a lot together.
They don't seem your type to me, but... Well, I haven't known you in a while, I suppose.
I am also looking forward to being able to retire back comfortably with Nalia. But in the interim...
You almost got me there. You know I'm interested in that. But it just seems like you're wrapped up in something so dangerous right now, and I'm trying to understand why. I mean, I'm your mother, so I'm going to worry.
I feel that my talents can benefit the ends that my friends are working towards. And somebody needs to do what we're doing, so we can't necessarily depend on it being somebody else.
You're convinced this is the path you wish to follow?
At least for the moment.
She tips back, you know, releasing you from the hug, and you can see that she's nodding and that, you know, her eyes are wet. As I think normally I'd want to encourage you toward the settling in, making a family, meeting this Nalia. But unfortunately I've been reminded that even that isn't a perfect safety net against the world.
MamaMendis will nod at that. To attempt to distract you again in a very subtle manner. Perhaps tomorrow we could have a conversation with Nalia. I gesture to Ash, who I don't remember have my parents like been introduced properly to Ash. I can't remember if he had come.
I think your mother had, because she compared him to one of your pet rocks, and he was upset.
Right? Yeah. So I don't remember if it had come up before about what the
Yeah,
the-
you had
conversations.
explained in
Yeah.
general terms what he was capable of.
So tomorrow I think we could use Ash to speak with her, and then you would be able to do so as well, although only for a short time. So some of your questions would have to wait.
God like that. Of course, when tomorrow is in this place, who knows? Just make sure you're safe in these travels and dealings. Little Leah told me that you were fighting to protect some drow recently.
Yes, we had been assisting in a fight against some drow following a law.
That sounds terribly dangerous, so don't make your poor mother worry more than she has to.
I shall do everything I can to remain as safe as I can, and help to ensure the safety of those around me.
I need to see the other friends. She seems to linger on the word a moment before deciding it's the right one.
I do think others had received the greater brunt of Brendan's attention, so I'm sure that they will be happy for the ministrations.
She looks up at the mention of this name. Brendan?
That is the name that he gave us. Or, well, more that he announced himself as upon kicking us awake.
Was there a man? With red hair?
I use minor illusion to make an image of him.
She looks at it. You don't see recognition in her eyes. She doesn't seem to have seen this person before. And his house? Was it strange?
It spoke, and I was not within the barrier to see it run away, so I just know that the barrier moved.
She's going to...
Right?
Yes, the barrier moved. And the house was not there after the barrier moved. She's going to put a hand heavily on your knee as she hoists herself up to a standing position again. Says, I think we're all rather lucky to be alive, suddenly. She looks very bothered. But she also looks determined to turn and leave without saying more.
I will probably be asking you about him and his house later, but I will wait. And I might forget. We'll see.
Her eyes are unfocused for a moment as she just shakes her head as she, sightlessly places items back in the bag off of the counterpane. Says, I haven't anything special to tell you, only that they are stories, and they are more recent, and they are not good.
Stories are a particular interest of mine, so
I hadn't given it too much thought, honestly, but I see the condition that you and your friends are in, and it gives me pause that perhaps the stories that these people in the places we perform tell have more merit to them than I'd given credence. Any event, most of them talked about assaults and danger. Some people died, at least according to the stories. That's why I'm glad you didn't. But I had no idea you might be dealing with, well, something like that.
the purple barrier looked extremely similar to the domain of a lich that we had encountered. So I would be curious if in any of these stories the edge of or the areas where one encountered Brendan looked like that, or if they might appear different to people. That would be interesting.
She is standing just straight now with the loop of the bag over her shoulder once more, half turned away toward the door, her face rigid and colorless at this point, and she just sort of squeaks a little, before reaching for the handle on the door and dismissing herself.
Imagine saying that there was a lich that we had, dealt with was probably not the nicest thing to do to my mother.
Far be it from me to decide that. She returns to the room. Who's the next most hurt?
56%.
Ah.
Oh.
Alright. So, this elven woman is going to bustle back into the room. Kind of, again, up and down the faces. Settle on you as she sees the, dings and scuffs in your armor, the places where you're leaking, and she just marches in, reaches out, like grabbing your hand. Her hand is half the size of yours, and she just starts tugging on it.
She somehow has double the strength.
I'm at 80%.
Do you allow her to lead you?
Yes.
Okay. You get led back to the room that you stayed in. That room was shared with Leah, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you go in there. Leah is on the bed. Did you take to the covers, lying down and resting?
Nah, she took up the diary and seems to be busy with it.
Okay. Seated, lying down. Out of curiosity.
Lying down.
Lying down. So
I can make tiny lights with prestidigitation, right?
I think so. Does that sound right?
Not
No?
really. That would be dancing lights.
Dancing lights.
Ah, okay.
You can make like sparks,
Right, not something
Like-
that you could actually
like little
read
firework
by.
kind of
Yeah.
things you can do.
But you can use prestidigitation to light candles, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
candles nearby.
Yeah, and then those would be lit.
Okay. Yes. The door swings open, and you see MamaMendis come back in, dragging Tatsuya, who's slouching after her, I assume. Just sort of like letting her tug him along, even though, like, you could break her by accident.
Yeah. Well, I guess he rolled poorly in his attempt to stop her, so he's just, for some reason, I don't know if it's just because he's injured and in a weakened state, or if it's literally just MamaMendis has that control.
She's
just
got
like,
a certain...
he can't even stop her.
he looks like he doesn't want to be there. Following her into the room. He says, "Excuse me, dear, I've got another one to take care of. I'll bring you something to drink soon, though."
Don't worry about it.
She's gonna sit you down on the bed and demand that you start dealing with the armor that's in the way of the injuries that she wants to get at, while she deals with ones, not covered by armor.
Tatsuya will do so. And he'll, hearing that Leah wants is wanting to drink, or thinking that she's wanting to drink, because MamaMendis said it, he's going to he's gonna cast create food and water.
Where does this food and water manifest?
In the room.
In the room.
In
the room.
Floor is now just oatmeal, very watery oatmeal.
I mean, she
Dang
was...
it, I forgot I need containers.
Yeah, she was standing on the bed, dealing with your head injuries as you did this, and now you can just feel her staring at the floor.
My bad. I just wanted to help Leah.
Everyone around here just seems to want to help so much. I honestly, I guess it means I raised him well. I just, you can feel her hands moving over your scales, finding soft spots which are painful, and then making them more painful as you hear corks being unstoppered and stinging cold fluids being applied to these damaged scales.
Oh, what kind of torture is this?
Torture of medicine, you'll be better soon.
Well, now Leah is intrigued and has stopped reading and paying attention.
Wait, Tatsuya's getting hurt. I'm interested.
All the while, he's also trying to shrug out of his armor.
Give me a second.
How do you even... She doesn't seem to be listening to you at all, but she does, stop hurting you for a moment as she seems to enter her own huff.
He will take this moment to try to get his armor off before more pain is inflicted.
You hope that you raise them right. You don't want them to be running off, looking for ways to die. How do you tell them no when they're out helping people? I just don't. She, grabs one of the ridges on your head as though she's trying to pinch an ear and, tugs your snout around so that, out your side-mounted eye, you can see her face way too close. She says, "You didn't put this kind of stress on your own mother, did you?"
Tatsuya will there's a long pause before he responds. My mother is dead.
She
holds. At this point, if you look to the direction of Leah, you would notice that from the point she asked about Tatsuya's mother, Leah would be staring intensely at him.
She holds eye contact for a long time before releasing your brow ridge. I'm sorry to hear that. That can't have been easy for you. But very young. She goes back to hurting you. With medicine. How did it happen?
I'm not sure myself. I was away. My brother said that could have been green dragons, it could have been drow. Could have been the combination of the two.
He is dabbing roughly at several injuries on your now exposed back. That is certainly a terrible thing to hear. I know the pain of losing loved ones to drow. But the uncertainty, I haven't experienced that. But I imagine it makes it all the worse.
I never got to fully say goodbye to them. Which is now all the more reason why I must find my brother.
And you feel the holes being drilled in his head by Leah's stare.
He's doing everything he can not to look at Leah.
It's hard.
Trust me, she can tell.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You do catch MamaMendis noticing your stare time to time. She seems pretty good at focusing on her work, but you do not go unnoticed. You have a lot of
That's all
regret about missing out on. Perhaps you would have been able to help prevent it.
I do have a bit more regret than just missing out on preventing it.
You feel a sharp stabbing as she jams this, whatever this antiseptic is, into a particularly deep wound on your back. And she says, completely, like, without any emotion, like, as though this is, she hadn't done anything more, exerted herself in any further way. She says, totally calmly, You and your friends appear to be fighters. I can see that you are built well for that. It must be crushing. Spend so much effort making yourself capable of dealing with such problems and still being powerless to stop them.
Yes. It's why no one person can go alone. It's why the world needs each other. It needs to unify. People need other people.
You can feel her, and Leah, you can see her nodding at this. She says, Family. Family is how we get through it.
Yes. That's why I need Raiken. I don't just want to get him, I need to get him back. And that is why I appreciate you helping us get to him.
Are you still struggling with the armor, or did you get it off by now?
I figure you would have gotten it off at this point.
Okay.
You're going to feel like a rhythmic tapping against one of the wounds, though it doesn't feel like the ministrations that she performed elsewhere. And you realize that she's mulling a thought for a moment before she says, You're less traveled with these, newer to their family, aren't you?
I joined them only, what, like, it has even been like a few days.
It's been like 2 days.
Yeah. Only joined them a couple days ago. My brother's been traveling with them this whole time. We ended up running into each other.
That must be very difficult. To have to build trust so quickly, but knowing how important it is, because you need them to accomplish your goal.
Yes, and as I've learned, some trust is harder to get than others. And that's when he'll kind of finally decide to look over to Leah.
Yeah,
And,
at this point, she will like turn around and just face the wall.
when that happens, he'll just cast a downward glance then.
Well, like you said, family, unity, that's how the world's gonna get through the dark times. We pull each other through. I know that if you're true to these beliefs, you'll find what you're looking for, and maybe win some hearts.
I'll certainly keep trying.
She,
Thank you, Miss Mendis.
She, slaps one of the newly wrapped injuries. It stings something awful. And through your cry of pain, you just hear her, almost through gritted teeth, say, "That's MamaMendis. And anytime, dear. Now clean up this mess." As she sloshes her way out of the room.
All right. Well,
That create food where?
he forgot that he needed containers. He's just like, I can give her a drink.
Here you go, 23 gallons of water on the floor. Here's a straw.
I guess at that point, it's not magic, is it?
At that point, the food, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's just food on the floor.
Well, I guess he's gotta go try to find a mop and bucket.
Off you get. You pass by as she's beginning to minister to the next person. It was Leah, Tatsuya, and Vendar? Huh?
Oh, I thought you were mentioning who you did.
No, MamaMendis, yes. I meant Leah, Tatsuya, and Vendar in one room, right?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
Okay. So she's gonna go back and begin ministering to Jebel and Yukikaze and Vendar. Now that the room is considerably less crowded, being that she's gotten 3 people out of it. And none of you is particularly hurt. So this is mostly just like a little salve, a little balm on the cuts or scrapes. With a bit of fabric to keep it from smearing on things.
Nobody cries as loud as Tatsuya.
Nobody's injuries were as bad, except for Leah. And as she comes in here, she sits all 3 of you on the bed and seems to size you up one at a time, and you get this feeling that there's more going on than just healing. Even in your case, you know that she's been talking about very serious matters with the others. You know that she's still coming to terms with a lot of what's been going on in her absence from her son's life. As I said, the walls are thin. But she's gonna size up the 3 of you and begin bandaging the little things before finally cutting directly into it as she gets to Vendar, since he's, you know, her size. So, a lich?
Yeah, she was a nasty one.
A nasty one? And what does that mean exactly in your line of work?
She was a hard fight. She made Cyrus turn against us and Lara had to put him in a box. That's kind of funny.
My son put your other friend in a box because he was mind-controlled.
Yeah, she was what do you call it? The
Enchantress.
man, I don't. Yeah, enchantress. So she could do all sorts of crazy stuff with our minds.
Sorry if that sounded weird, but it is the school of enchantment.
Yeah.
And you went there and accepted this fight by choice.
Well, we needed to get the armor of cord for Raiken so that we had a chance to fight the dragons.
Fight the dragons for the gods.
Just keep digging my grave, don't you? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's contributing. At least it's a team effort.
Something's got to bring this group together.
Because that dumbass Tatsuya and I were having to fight a bunch of giant fucking dragons.
Yeah.
Hold on, there's more buses. Bring in the buses!
Yeah. Now there's
Tatsuya's,
gonna be names on that grave.
Tatsuya is cleaning and he just sneezes. Oh, what the hell?
Dusty in here. The young man in the other room with all the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dumbass.
He had the wonderful idea to try to unite the world by raising all the ancient children of Tiamat.
Well, that gives her pause.
You know, the best part of that is that he goes into an area to raise a dragon and then doesn't unite the people in the area. He just leaves.
Yeah. Wiped
Like,
out
no
most of
follow
his own
through.
people.
No follow through. Like, that's a half-baked plan right there.
Yeah, he's not a very smart one.
You'd like his brother, though. Raiken's cool.
Yeah, Raiken's much better. Not the smartest one either, but he's much better than Tatsuya.
Hasn't tried to raise any dragons that we know of.
I take it that isn't going to be a euphemism for having children.
Nah.
I see. So, if I follow this all correctly, there was problem with dragons. I believe you talked a little bit about that last night that you were solving.
Mm-hmm.
And more recently, you say this led you to needing this armor, this cord. I'm familiar with the god. Not a fan of his. Bit too warlike.
Yeah, he's the god that Raiken follows.
And now you're saying that the reason there were dragons that you needed to fight at all is because this Tatsuya boy had something to do with it?
Yeah. He may have been manipulated at least a little bit, but ultimately he's just a dumbass.
Yeah, I don't know. Was he involved with the first one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he raised them all.
Oh, what an idiot.
Well, he didn't raise all of them.
And the walls are thin, so I assume we hear this in the other room.
The walls are thin. So you do hear a lot of, slightly muffled, he's an idiot, coming through the walls.
Tatsuya's very thankful that MamaMendis has already treated its wounds.
It's like, I don't think he really thought any of this through.
Yeah, no, he got this half-baked idea and decided to go with it. Just ignoring the consequences.
Ignoring the consequences, taking risks. But what was the goal?
He said his goal was to try to unite the world, because he's not wrong. The world's kind of a mess. There's a lot of fighting, but his way of going about it was just about the dumbest way possible.
I see.
He wanted to create an enemy so big that the world would have to unite to fight it.
He did that.
Yeah. Lucky if we get him to do that. Probably we're all gonna die. But we're doing our best to try to stop it.
Oh, looks like we're back to shoveling the dirt on MamaMendis.
Now, when you say the world, you mean the Prime?
Yeah, I don't know how if they would be able to do anything with like the Feywilds, but the material plane is in mortal danger right now.
I don't know, like, they're pretty intelligent.
I'm certain
I mean,
that if they
if
wanted to,
to.
they could find their way here.
Yeah, probably. It's not like they're dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that one tried to destroy that city, and, like, so they're intelligent and cruel enough.
Yeah, they don't like people. They want to subjugate everybody again.
Or melt everyone.
Yeah.
I haven't had to deal with a lot of dragons in my life. Most people here in the Feywild revere, the Feywild's creator, Corellin. But there are, of course, the gods are ubiquitous. And so there are people who revere Bahamut and Tiamat. There's people that worship the Raven Queen, Asmodeus. It takes all kinds. Just have to learn to identify those who are gonna do you harm and avoid them, usually. But that is certainly easier when you got people around you you can trust.
Yeah, we're kind of like we identify the things that are going to harm others, and we go put ourselves in the way.
It's easy to identify them when they're massive dragons.
Yeah.
They kind
It's
of
a bit
stand
harder
out.
to stop them, though.
I can see that, and I think that it is certainly admirable that we've got plenty of stories of the hero types like you coming down through the ages ever since Corellin created this place. I didn't suspect that I would be in the presence of people who felt such a compulsion to endanger themselves for the good of others. But I can respect it, I think.
We all have our reasons.
But as a mother, I have to strongly suggest that you put some extra effort into keeping my little lair out of harm's way best you can. And she smiles the most saccharine smile you have seen.
You shouldn't really have to worry. He's got all sorts of things, like his escape plan Delta. If it goes real bad, then he just leaves us behind.
She blinks.
Yeah, MamaMendis is like the smartest person I know. He can take care of himself. Better than the rest of us, I think.
He's got more self-preservation than the rest of us do combined.
Right here, the rhythmic beep of the reverse signal of the bus coming off of Lair.
Oh, hold on. Little too much dirt. Back it up.
Well, I can't speak to your friend Tatsia's plan, as he was not forthcoming about it with me. But it seems like your suggestion that perhaps he was manipulated is one I find myself leaning toward. If only because... And she leans in conspiratorially.
And I just kind of Because he seems like he would be easily manipulated.
Because he seems like he genuinely wants to help people. Genuinely wants to make things better. But
Yeah,
if people
I
are
don't think
getting
he's
hurt,
evil.
that's a problem.
Yeah, he seems
Yeah.
like a well-meaning idiot.
Yeah, very much so.
So, seems like we all have things to think about on the journey ahead of us, don't we? I'm gonna go get supper started. If you need anything, I'll be downstairs. She's gonna be like reaching out and patting your cheek, Vendar, like a mother to a small child. Just
Okay.
let me know if you need anything.
And thanks again for the cookies. They were delicious.
I'll be sure to make some more soon. And she disappears from the room, leaving the four of you. Let's see. Yeah, four of you together. Yukikaze. Sorry, if it wasn't clear that you could contribute to that, Yuki, you could. Did you have anything you wanted to say before she leaves?
Not really.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I feel like I didn't make it clear enough that you were also sat there with the other two.
No, I figured I was. I just didn't really, I was deep in thought.
Okay, that's fair enough.
He's more apprehensive about throwing Tatsuya and MamaMendis under the bus.
Or he's just thinking of the perfect way to do it. So, she busies herself away. Lair, you were brought away to, your separate room for your, talk. You may rejoin the others if you desire. You can hear this odd and kind of disturbing sloshing, squishing noise coming from around the corner. All of you become aware of this gurgling, squishing noise.
In that room, Leah will have turned around and is like sitting on the bed looking at Tatsuya. Release a deep sigh, and then she's gonna start causing prestidigitation to speed up the process.
1 foot cubes of the stuff start disappearing, and it fills in, but you can see the overall level is slowly lowering.
Yeah, cast it often enough, and we'll get there.
Tatsuya will kind of smile a bit and as quiet for him, he'll be like, "Thank you, Leah."
Yeah. You did heal me earlier, after all, and you did this for me, even though I had no idea how we managed to survive all along. If you didn't know that spell required a container.
I wasn't thinking. I wanted to help you.
Why? Why do you try so hard?
You're my niece. Your family.
And what about all other families you ruined because of your decisions?
I know. I ruined my own family in the process as well. It's something that I must live with for the rest of my life. But it was a sacrifice I wasn't didn't see coming for the world that I was hoping to create. I know you guys don't see what I see, but at the time, in my eyes, the world needed it. And I still think it does need that push to make it a better place.
Maybe it does, but you kind of just force it upon the world. In doing so, you just create more chaos, more suffering. How many people are going to die for this perfect world to be created?
Well, a lot might be killed in this process, but it over time, if this didn't happen, the same amount of people, if not more, could also be killed. If we just kept going about our lives, how many wars do you think would happen? How many people would die from all that
The
over
wars will
time?
still happen. Don't you
Wars,
understand?
but if they unify, they will. There won't be wars. They won't have a reason to fight each other.
They'll unify to destroy this threat. Once this threat is over, they just go back to the different locations and eventually they start fighting each other again. That's just how humans work. They fight. You can't stop nature by one catastrophe. There's been other catastrophes in the past and they're still fighting today.
But it brings everybody to the table.
For once, human lives are so short. In the future, several generations have passed and they've forgotten all about it.
But not if the teachings of unification are passed down.
I do not believe that will ever happen. If it was that easy, it would have already been done.
But they've never had a reason to unify.
They haven't. There's been several wars in the past. These dragons were caught once. They did fight this world before.
And they had a savior to save them.
Well, though the champion of Bahamut was involved, I doubt he was alone in that fight.
But he had a way to lock them away.
And that is what we are trying to do.
So that they could end up being unlocked again at some point. By possibly someone with worse intentions than me.
Ender hear all this?
Thin walls.
Ender will enter the room.
You see Tatsuya leaning against a mop. The floor is covered in what honestly looks like chunder at this point. And Leah is sitting on the bed glaring at him.
This is disgusting. You're an idiot.
Close the door.
Are you saying I'm an idiot because of all this?
Not just because of all that. Your whole fucking plan. You think that having a great threat will unite them? Maybe for the threat, once that's gone, what do you think is going to happen? They're just going to be one massive kingdom over the entire continent? That'll never happen. They'll spread back out into their own fucking kingdoms and they'll end up fighting more. Nobody's just going to give up the power that they currently have because they had to unite to stop a giant threat.
They don't need to all become one giant kingdom. They can still have their provinces. But they need
As
to
long
be
as they're
able...
separate, there will be fighting, and even if somehow they all got united, there would be power struggles. There would be future people who didn't like the way it was and would fight for their beliefs. It's always going to be like that.
I have to believe that people can be better and that we can make things better.
Not
You
like
don't
this.
you don't do that by threatening them with extinction.
How many was it?
Growth is a
4?
slow process.
I believe there's like 3 or 4 cities, whole cities that has fallen because of these dragons. Thousands, if not millions, of lives.
Including your whole country.
It's
Because of
not
you,
worth
your
it.
parents are dead.
It's a bit blunt to bring it in like that, but yes.
Already told you how much that weighs on me.
And yet you still believe in your plan to try to unite the world via the threat of massive extinction? And what if the plan fails? What if they don't unite? You're just alright with having wiped out everybody on the planet?
Or enslaved. We don't know if all of the dragons actually want us dead.
They like to be worshipped and have a food source.
More than likely, it would have happened at some point.
You can't just force massive change in an instant. It takes time. It is a slow process, and it takes people willing to make that change. Like what we did with trying to bring the Drow and unify the group with the surface to bring that peace. You don't do it by threatening them. That doesn't solve anything.
How long did that take you?
They had been in the
10 days.
process for a while, but the reason they were able to separate themselves from the Lil's followers was because we helped them. And now they have a chance to actually live on the surface and to unite with the people instead of going on the generations that they've been for thousands of years, just fighting and killing everybody on the surface.
I mean, it took a shorter amount of time to help those than it took for you to release 3 dragons.
Exactly. So you invoked change between the people here on the surface and the Drow in
I mean, it's still a process.
the blink of an eye, essentially.
It's still a process. Like you saw with MamaMendis, it's not going to be easy for people to get over everything that's happened between the surface dwellers and the Drow. But
No,
if they
it's
work,
gonna take several generations for them to be accepted everywhere.
yeah.
We just made the ball rolling.
Well, I've also made the ball rolling.
What's disaster?
Even if they unite for the threat, that's not going to get rid of the societal or social tensions and stuff. People are still going to be racist against Drow, even if they have to work with Drow to kill the dragons.
You hear like a thump, and just the door slams open, and it says, "You didn't get a ball rolling. You started a boulder rolling down a hill towards a group of people."
Yes, it's more like you started an avalanche.
With an orphanage at the bottom. Make that like 3.
Yeah, it's like, and Chapel is like, every time someone says something like that, Chapel just points at them, staring at Tatsuya. It's like, huh? It's like,
See? Man, you're getting ganged up on in there, Tots.
Yep. They just he knows that he's not going to change their views. It's They want a slow process, which he's seen the slow process of bureaucracy, and it was not going to change anything. You can think of me all you want, but it is now, the dragons are now out there. So turning your hate towards me isn't going to stop them.
No, but it's at least an outlet because you're the dumbass who let him out.
And making you understand this idiocy is going to be a slow process too, but I think we'll stick with it.
And you'd think wiping out your own fucking country would be enough to see that you made a goddamn mistake.
I'm also curious, how much do you actually hold on to beliefs? You say you do, but yet you're here. You're in the Feywild, far away from your process, trying to bring back one person. One person that is important to you. Think of how many would have tried the same thing.
And what would Bahamut think of what you did?
We kind of already got that answer from the Tristan version of Tatsuya.
I would say Bahamut would believe in my work because he wants the dragons and Tiamat destroyed.
You're an idiot.
I'm an idiot for following my god.
You're an idiot for thinking Bahamut would want you to release Tiamat's evil onto the world.
What other way is there to kill Tiamat?
Let's
Who
start
says
with
she needs
one
to
at
be
a time.
You know, there was a reason the champion of Bahamut chose not to kill Tiamat in the past.
Perhaps
Take one
he
at a
decided
time,
to,
do some research, clear, safe
perhaps he
1,000-mile
decided
radius.
to stop short of doing Bahamut's great work. Perhaps he didn't have the
Did you
nerve in
even
him.
try to commune with Bahamut before you started releasing Tiamat's children upon the world?
If you believe he would agree on your plan so much, then why aren't you now the champion of Bahamut?
That was not my place.
Anything, you're the champion of Tiamat, idiot.
You can think all that you want, but I am following Bahamut as I was commanded
God,
Wait, commanded by whom?
by Bahamut. That's how I know that I am doing his work.
Right, how did this command come in?
From an angel that Bahamut sent.
I'd say we use commune.
Let's fact check that. See if it was actually Bahamut. That'd be interesting to find out. Hey, MamaMendis, you busy?
Out of character, I don't know where I am at this point. Because I had stepped away,
cat time.
shortly after the Lich was mentioned, as you guys were digging my grave, and I came back
we took a
to
little
you
dirt
grilling Tatsuya about his life choices.
So, you have been in the room that was separated out for you, alone, kind of thinking about this discussion with your mother, and listening to the ongoing discussions that she had with the other party members, aware that some of them are not making your life easier, but also after your mother excused herself to go prepare supper, you would have heard they started ganging up on Tatsuya. And that's been going on for like the last 10 minutes.
Okay. And so now I heard them actively, call for me.
Yeah.
I like the idea that when Tatsuya... No, it's when Tatsuya said he was visited by an angel, I was just thinking, God, he must have, a really low insight.
So you've been called to.
Okay, MamaMendis will go and... is the door closed?
That they're... no, like, they're not even all in the room. Some of them are, like, yelling at him from the hallway, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, I imagine myself just like standing in the doorway.
Exactly.
So MamaMendis will walk up, and look around and say, "What? Why are we not all in a room?"
I'm in the room, so I shrug at you.
I know that there's little privacy here, but there is some amount.
You at this moment literally hear somebody's resolve break, and raucous laughter comes peeling through one of the walls nearby. Followed by other voices going, "Shut up! Shh!"
He's on to us.
Oh, don't worry, the show will continue.
Not like we've ever been careful about who hears us.
We have on rare occasion.
I mean, I still feel that we can. You don't need to close the. But we should. Why, like, out into the hallway?
I mean, we could hear every word. They're 3 rooms away through the walls. Unless you cast your privacy spell, it's not going to be private.
That's a very safe thing to do in this building.
I'm not sure we even work for more than like 5 seconds. We're moving.
Mordenkainen's private sanctum?
Yeah, that one.
Because that, if you could cast it on a moving location, then, like, you could make it permanent on that moving location, which would be interesting. So what would the ruling be on Mordenkainen's private sanctum? A room.
I don't
but
think
that room
I don't
is-
think if the reference is moving that it can be cast there. And even if it can, which is something we can return to later, you know that the magic here mingles weirdly. Meaning you don't know what'll happen if you try it. Thing blows up if you don't hold your breath.
Probably.
Probably.
But yeah, I had not been considering casting it. I had just been thinking, it's easier to have a discussion in a room instead of half the people in a room and half the people in a hallway.
Oh, that's definitely true.
That was mostly what MamaMendis was getting at. Especially since he is now at the far end of the conversation, since the hallway is blocking him. I'm trying to remember what was the question that drew my attention.
They wanted to...
Trying to...
Oh,
We want you to
commune.
cast commune.
or the other one, to find out if Tatsuya was actually told to do this by one of Bahamut's angels or something else.
If he was just manipulated because he was an idiot, or Bahamut actually wanted.
I mean, I have a question for out of character for Yukikaze. I'm trying to remember how much of what did he tell us about, like, when we were talking with Tresnor, there had been discussions about what Bahamut's will versus what Shagrosir's will was. And I feel like that's relevant to this. I'm trying to remember what exactly was said.
Well,
And MamaMendis remembers. But,
well, yeah, we were talking about that because I also brought up, like, I talked about the topic of, we brought about what would happen if a god left existence. Like, the hole that it would leave and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I was looking up information on catastrophes that have happened and world-changing events that were like that. And it was a question I did pose to the party, so everyone knows what Shagrazir and Bahamut said to me.
Okay, so then I feel like we should understand that unless two people are lying, it is Bahamut's wish that this
We
happen.
we kill.
But one was
What's the
received after the
concern?
dragons were out. One was before. Once the destruction had already happened.
Okay, so our actual question isn't whether Tatsuya is intending to carry out Bahamut's will, it's whether Bahamut wanted this whole series of events to be triggered.
Yeah, like if it was one of his ancients that came to talk to Tatsuya, basically.
I suppose that we could ask that. Do we have other questions that we wish to ask at the same time? I would prefer to use commune, as I don't want to become a vegetable for a day.
I mean, I have some non-related things I could certainly get answers to, but if someone has more pressing questions.
Oh, wait. Sam has just remembered there is a question I want to ask. So there is a question that has been at the edge of my mind since events with Tresnor that I would like to have an answer to. If we have one more question, it can be anything. First come, first served.
Will we be passing by the original resting place of the statue of Krellin?
Will we be passing by in our path to Autumn's Elegy?
Yep. Stay within like 10 miles.
All right. Let me write down some questions. Okay. So, was Tatsuya Limas visited by an agent of Bahamut in order to set in motion his actions to wake the children of Tiamat? Does that seem a reasonable way to phrase that question to people?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what it was you wanted to ask.
You will find out. Laramentis is not going to hide asking the questions.
Before we start, who here speaks Celestial?
I point to Ash.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure our translation wasn't coming through Tatsuya, just in case.
You see the orb of light around Ash's core ripple.
I would ask: is there a language that Ash can't translate?
Is that?
He turns. he turns his core toward Yukikaze and says, "I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication, and that is your one question."
Does he know sign language?
Yes.
He can make
which one?
He can make projections of people. I figured he could make a projection of a hand.
He projects a hand.
I was just curious.
It's a very expressive hand.
Oh my.
Alright, what are you casting, Lair?
Typing out my second question, which is the one that I've been meaning to ask for like half a year at this point.
I'm glad you remembered.
What is my conjurer friend's name?
The not the dean, the professor?
Yeah.
Evandel Yeldon.
Right.
I had to stop and think about that for a second. I'm like, I don't need my notes. I know it's written there, but I know this one.
Okay. So my question, I'm going to just read them out, and then questions. Was Tatsuya Lumos visited by an agent of Bahamut in order to set in motion his actions to wake the children of Tiamat?
Am I to take this as a spell and you're waiting for an answer?
I can read them again later if you would want.
I didn't know if you were just checking them again with the party or if you were just going for it right now.
I do want to check. I want to check the
third one
for Cyrus. So, will we be passing within 10 miles of the original resting place of the statue of Corellin, currently at the university being studied by Evandel Yeldon, on our way to Autumn's Elegy? Is that sufficient?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I suppose I will also just tell everyone. My question is, if given our knowledge of residuum and supplied with the residuum that Raiken had in his possession, would Tresnor have been able to recreate his defensive magic without needing to take a life?
And that's a cool question.
Oh, that's not a question I wouldn't know the answer to.
That's a question that MamaMendis really wants to know the answer to.
Sounds like something that we should have asked while we were there.
Unfortunately, Raiken was missing at that point.
Yes, Raiken was gone by the time...
And Laramendis was not going to say anything about it when there was literally nothing that we could do.
Yeah.
I was sad about that.
Why? why crush the man who was so honored to do this?
Is Laramendis asking? Is formulating these questions out loud?
Yes. So this is Laramendis saying through the questions out loud to get any kind of input from people before he casts the spell, and to like finalize the wording before he goes and does it. So he has said all of these questions to you, and he has said that these will be the 3 questions that he's intending to ask.
Sound good to me.
Does anyone have a question that they feel would be more important to ask now?
Nothing I can think of.
All right.
Yeah. No.
I ask. Oh, what was that?
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. I cast my spell.
Right.
I am using commune for this one, not
contact other plane.
Yes.
Well, it just means that I don't have to come up with some crazy knowledgeable creature that you're talking to.
Another Arcana law.
It could be Brendan.
You fuckers. Shit. Just a mushroom appears when asking the
Angry
question.
mushroom noises.
So, do you want me to ask the questions and you give a response for each one? Just
sure. Let's do it official like.
Okay.
Do it live.
Laramendis takes 10 minutes to, prep casting the spell.
Mm-hmm.
And after the 10 minutes are up, we are now in the minute of casting the spell, which is when the questions get asked. So, was Tatsuya Lumos visited by an agent of Bahamut in order to set in motion his actions to wake the children of Tiamat?
The house rumbles, vibrations moving through the wood beneath your feet. You can hear other people throughout the moving vehicle building, shudder and cry out in surprise. And as the rumble ends, Ash simply pulses once and says, "Yes."
Okay. If given our knowledge of residuum and supplied with the residuum that Raiken had in his possession, would Tresnor have been able to recreate his defensive magic without needing to take a life?
There is a longer rumble And Ash takes a moment before pulsing and says, "Almost certainly."
And finally, will we be passing within 10 miles of the original resting place of the statue of Corellin, currently at the university being studied by Evandel Yeldon, on our way to Autumn's Elegy?
There is a pause about that for a moment before the building vibrates, and Ash says, "It doesn't know."
Well,
Interesting.
I
guess
can
just-
speculate.
is it because this place kind of is weird and shifty?
I have not been given permission to speculate.
Please do. MamaMendis have been looking at Ash expectantly.
It is possible, though my stronger suspicion is that this happened long enough ago that the particular being that was sent to answer the questions is unaware directly.
See. Well, it's gonna rule out asking pretty much anybody. Good to know.
I would not say that is the case. Simply that this particular one couldn't answer the question.
Sorry. Well, then, do you have an idea of who might be able to?
Sculptor?
If you have a way to speak with him, that person would know.
Was there like a plaque or anything on the,
You were given the name Sculptor.
Right. Sadly, I don't remember it, though. Because I am very bad with names.
Make me get out my notes.
Sorry.
What is this? DM has to get out his notes. We were having a nice RP session where you guys were just talking to each other and I could just listen. I didn't need notes. Gandala Arethus.
Well. Based on your speculation, it seems reasonable to be under the impression that the creator would be dead.
I would be very surprised if they were not.
Yeah. I have a number here. I imagine that there's a number here because you were told the number.
Or how old the thing was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You want the number?
Sure. Yeah, what's the number?
7,000 years.
Yep. I don't know of anything that lives that long. Except, like, a lich. Maybe a dragon.
There
I'm not sure how lich counts.
are some entities that will live that long, yes. It's I would not want to speak to one, generally speaking, that had been alive 7,000 years ago. Generally speaking.
Clerics speak to these gods that are clearly more than 7,000 years old. Hell, you just spoke to an agent of a god.
It's true.
My own's
Yes.
probably pretty old.
I would either need
How old's Ash?
of Corellan or I don't know, I guess body and speak with dead. But that one seems highly unlikely.
Ash is gonna rotate toward Vendar and say, I am not the only one of my kind, and we do not last forever, but I was created some 1,000 years ago.
So look, a day over 700.
Thank you.
He glows at that. He's always glowing, but you know.
Get out.
I had to say it. I'm sorry. No, that was a lie. I'm not sorry.
Very well aware.
So how long do your what are they called again?
Theons.
How long do Sions last?
That is entirely dependent on the scholar.
What's the oldest one that's still around?
The oldest one that is still around that I am aware of is 3,478 years old.
Big number.
Yeah.
They rarely
let
take
them
on
rest.
scholars. The knowledge they contain is too valuable.
So then I guess that raises a new question. It depends on the scholar. Is there something in particular we can do to help keep you around?
Listen to his mother.
Got it. So don't let him die.
My death is not necessarily a problem.
This is
I think
true.
it's more the nature of my death that becomes the problem.
Some scholars die in a way that also destroys the Sion. This nearly happened with my last scholar.
Yeah, I could see how that could happen.
Yeah. Well, we'll do our best, but we are often in very dangerous situations.
This is understood. It is what the Sions were created for. Recording. I do not blame the actions of my former scholar, Zathala. They did what any follower of Ione would be expected to do. They went above and beyond. And it is because they followed the correct protocol that all of my memories were not lost. Speaking of Scholar, we should likely update the memory box at some point in the near future.
The next time we find ourselves in Volinar, it took me a second to remember the name of the city, I would very much like to do that.
Bobs in the air.
So if we do end up going to Everwatch, it might be possible to get them to send it there. Well, get Nalia to send it there.
Quick question. Well, not question, request. MamaMendis. If you do end up sending or otherwise contacting someone on the material plane, if you could do us a favor and get an idea as to how much time has passed out there, that would be lovely.
Very well. I do want to also say, we're in the Feywild, don't speak of favors.
Fair point.
It was
Why
fine
not?
with me, but with other entities, it might not be. If you make a request like that to somebody, then you would owe them, if they do it, a favor for a favor, and owing a Fey anything is generally not a position that a mortal would like to be in.
Oh.
No,
What
Lerman,
if a Fae owes you something?
it's just
You should
That was
still
also
be
bad.
very cautious.
it's just you don't do it. There is no good, bad. It's just you don't do it.
If you are owed a favor by a Fae, when calling in that favor, should you choose to, you should be very, very careful about everything in that situation.
And what does that make me and Sintarama?
That makes you his warlock.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he like own your soul?
I am
What?
not intimately familiar with the nature of the pacts between the powers and the warlocks that obtain their power through them. There aren't a lot of you, and most of them don't enjoy spending extended amounts of time at the university and being bombarded by questions by people like me.
I see.
Well,
They also don't like being treated as the pretenders they are.
That's a bit rude.
Insult was not meant. The warlocks pretend to power that is not theirs, whereas the people who are attending the university as scholars and mages are working hard to earn their magic and learn the ways of bending the will of Amaranta. I was simply stating that it is because of that treatment, what you perceive as rude from me is meant as rude by the mages in many cases, and it drives them from the university.
Well, that is understandable.
Some of my colleagues are not the most delicate at interpersonal matters when it comes to those outside their spheres of interest.
seems we may have a little time. Any chance I could take you up on a past offer, Laramidus, to well, try and learn your method of magic?
I would love to.
Well, if there's some place, preferably with a window, that we could get started.
You want to be a sorcerer and a wizard?
Doesn't help to at least know how it's done. Who knows? Might let me do more with the magic I currently possess.
Could I join in on that? At least to observe. I am very curious on how magic and the different schools actually work.
Of course.
I'd be inclined to start with evocation, but given our current environment, that seems advised.
Yes.
Perhaps illusion or conjuration? Those seem a bit safer.
Just looking at what I have cantrip wise. I think prestidigitation is transmutation, as is mending. And we do all have prestidigitation, which probably would make it a good
Starting point.
example of the differences in magic. So, why don't we start there? Does anyone else have interest in at least the theory of magic, if not the practice of the arcane arts?
I come from a magic family. I never really succeeded with it, so I'm gonna say no on my part.
Laramendis looks disappointed.
Well, I mean, it couldn't hurt to try, Yuki, and well, perhaps he'd be a better teacher. And, well, if someone's gonna carry on your family's art, that now somewhat falls to you.
I am not as knowledgeable in divination magic, but I certainly have the fundamentals of it.
I was gonna say, this coming from the guy who just contacted God.
I did not say that I am incapable or unfamiliar with divination, just I don't have as much experience in it. But how you use your time is your own decision. Did anyone else care to join us? I look at everyone in turn.
Beginning to study arcane magic? Multi-classing into wizards?
I like to think that somebody from one of the other rooms, like,
Oh yeah,
volunteers.
at least one cousin is just like standing right outside the door, ready to have me bump into them.
I mean,
I did not notice them moving though.
Summon fish with magic, right?
I like a live fish.
Sure.
Well, yes, you could. There would be a fair number of spells that could get the job done.
I'll learn.
He just wants a fish.
Yeah.
Got a problem with that?
Seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to want to me.
Well, you could just ask MamaMendis to make him a fish.
I am not capable of that.
I'm sure you're familiar with the old saying.
Teach a man to fish.
Teach a man to conjure fish, and he has fish whenever he wants them.
Oh yes, that saying.
Give a man a conjured fish, and he's just got that fish for however long it stays.
Give a man a conjured fish and it disappears in an hour. Teach a man to conjure fish and they last as long as he has spell slots.
I cast Major Fish.
Yeah, summon bigger fish.
Oh my
Conjure a
god,
fish and then eat it, would it disappear from your stomach?
I think at this point it's hard to make us more nerdy.
Darts and droids.
Darts and droids.
But if the desire is to feed oneself, there are other spells that create sustenance.
Feed. I just want the fish.
I was answering Vendar's question.
I still want the fish.
Well, let's see what we can do. Laramentis is going to lead the way into another room so as not to disturb the people that are still here.
Indeed.
With his prattling.
You go back to the room that was pretty much just yours. It accommodates everyone who follows. So, who does not follow?
Actually,
Katsuya does not follow.
Yeah, Yuki's not gonna either.
Yuki does not follow.
He said he's going to
Vendar will
teach.
stay here.
He's going to start teaching people the basics of arcane magic.
Yeah, I'm going to follow. This is
Okay.
interesting.
Unless it'll help me learn how to kill him better, then I'm just gonna stay.
I mean, understanding what wizards are capable of and how their magic functions is beneficial. I would argue that it is beneficial in figuring out how to put a stop to that. I think you have a pretty good handle on how to do it. It just involves excessive amounts of poison.
Yeah, usually just turn them to goo.
Which generally works for most things.
Yeah. It's always upsetting when I find something that doesn't
Not
turn to
for
goo and I hit it
me.
with poison.
Poison doesn't work for me.
Yeah, but you're a
Not
freak.
excessive liberal.
A liberal application of poison.
I stick my tongue
That's
out.
enough to turn him
Vendar.
to goo.
Leah's just taunting him now.
So if you want to, what we'll be talking about will be fairly basic, but it will be fundamentals that would need to be built upon to have a deeper understanding of arcane magic. Out of character, I imagine if you spent enough time with Laramentis doing this, you could eventually reasonably take the Mage Slayer feat. Just knowing how to kill them.
Now, is there something that I can do as someone who can't use magic to make it so the wizards can't use magic either?
The easiest way to prevent someone from casting magic is to prevent them from speaking in some way and prevent them from moving their hands in the proper forms.
So if
Or
I could
getting their
paralyze
focus
them.
away from them.
Or managing to get a focus away from them.
So if I could steal their focus, they wouldn't be able to cast?
They couldn't cast the stronger things.
They would have more difficulty with certain types of things.
Like, for instance, I couldn't cast Fireball, but I could still cast Firebolt. I think. Yes, that's correct.
Alright, I guess I'll listen. Maybe I'll learn some way to kill mages easy.
I hope that you will learn something. I don't think that will be what you take away from a lesson today. But it will lay the foundation for lessons tomorrow, where you might be able to take something like that away.
Now, what is a focus? Can it be anything?
It is it is a particular type of tool. An arcane focus can be generally a wand. I gesture to Leah.
Yeah, like wave my wand a little bit. Might accidentally change the color of the light in the process.
It can be. You will also notice that MamaMendis is in his teacher's robes while he's doing this. You didn't see him change into them. It can be an orb, although I don't know. I don't think that Cyrus possesses one.
Well,
Cyrus
I
uses
had
sword.
I've used 3 across my time with you. I've used a crystal, which I hold out because I still have it, a wand identical to hers, and now this.
It can also be a staff. Laramendis does actually have a staff. He just doesn't use it. The other way that many mages will cast their spells is with this. Laramendis gestures at his waist to a pouch that he has there. This is a spellcasting component pouch. And in it, it has many of the little things that might be necessary for a spell, like a bit of fleece. He holds up a bit of fleece. Or
a dead roly-poly.
Many other kinds of things. It's very convenient. But these, he holds out like 3 different little things, like a piece of copper wire, the bit of fleece, and let's see, he holds out
back guano, back guano, back guano.
He doesn't have fireball. He holds.
I like to think that that's the one component Cyrus has on him.
A lot of bad shit on him.
A little a bit of salt and some soot together.
And the diamond I give Chalt. That was a particular focus for a particular spell. Chromatic orb.
So how do those things stay separate in the pouch? Is it magic?
A lot of little dividers. And years of experience.
It doesn't always stay separate.
Yeah. Sometimes things get a little
There are some
smeared.
components that are messier than others, and if one casts those spells more frequently, it is usually beneficial to oneself and one's companions to acquire a focus.
Ta-da!
So do you not need the components if you have a focus?
Not the cheap ones. The aforementioned diamond you would still need.
There are certain spells which direct enough power through their components that need higher quality items to be able to properly channel that magic safely. And so...
Yeah, I need components to summon my familiar. And I also need the mirror for scrying.
Ooh, that's also a good thing to make a distinction of. Some get used, some don't.
Actually, speaking of foci like that, Vendar, you're in possession of a spyglass, are you not?
Yeah.
Once we have reacquired Raiken and our residuum, would you lend that to me so that I might enchant it? In my construction of the little pet project spell of mine, in order to work properly, it needs a focus, and that seemed like a suitable item for it.
Do you want
Unfortunately, I
to
can't do it now. I would need to borrow it whenever we need to cast the spell.
And you would need to not break it.
It would be much more difficult to break because it would be enchanted.
Would the enchantment affect how it's used? Or would it
It
just...
would make it sturdier, but it would not improve its current functions. It wouldn't degrade them. And it would allow it to function as a focus for my spell.
Okay. What's the spell, anyway?
It is... I'm
pulling it up.
How to describe it? It's a way to see a particular location at a specified time for a certain amount of time. So we could go somewhere, cast the spell, and be able to see what happened there whenever we wanted to have seen that.
Oh. Interesting. Yeah, you can do that.
MamaMendis is rubbing his hands together. Very excited. Because finally, Sam remembered to ask Vendar. No,
nice
no, I have not properly named it yet. I know that's been on the list of things to do, voice in the sky. I don't need your sass.
Well, all I have is sass as the voice in the sky, so deal with it. Also, you have, as you've been didacting at your small group of pupils, you become aware that you have spent the last little while growing a sage-like bushy beard, like lengthy and white. The color of your hair.
That wasn't always there, was it?
It was quite a few years ago.
It reminds you of the good old days.
Previous form.
Did like Nalia make you shave it off or something?
No.
I lean over to Bender. Does beard grow that quick?
In absently stroking it in
No,
thought.
but he's magic.
It's very familiar.
It's very comfortable.
So, when it comes to prestidigitation, how's this going to be different? Are you just kind of giving it a little bit of shape and, I guess, letting it out, for lack of a better term?
I haven't properly studied how sorcerers perform the spell to have an idea beforehand, but why don't we go through it, sorcerer and warlock, and figure out what the differences in how we're doing it are, and then we can try and figure things out more deeply from there.
Alright, so you have this lesson with your many pupils asking you about the fundamentals of pulling magic from the weave and shaping it, directing it, and you find that it does feel very much, in many ways, like the old days at the university, only more like a 101 course rather than the intro to abjuration and the higher level abjuration classes that you taught. This is now the fundamentals and trying to re-explain the things that have become rote and just the way you know the world to be, trying to put that into words. But it's a fun challenge. We've only got a little bit of time left, so I wanted to make sure that we're not leaving our Dragonborn to rot as they decided not to learn about magic. So, I do want to know what the Dragonborn would like to do inside this magic caravan while the others are learning magic.
Well, we just finished a battle, so I'll be cleaning my My hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Tatsuya would also be working on his armor and weapons and just kind of just resting.
Cleaning all the dog mush off his hammer.
So much dog mush.
You were confronted quite harshly a bit earlier. Is that having any particular effect on Tatsuya?
He wants to take this time to just kind of be away from everybody else.
He was also vindicated.
He was. Apparently, Bahamut cares more about his vendetta with Tiamat than he does about all of his followers on the planet.
Maybe he believes in his followers.
I mean, he got the entire city of his followers massacred by Tiamat's children.
And now they're there with him up in Bahamut heaven.
Want to make a dragon omelet? Gotta break a few dragon eggs.
Certainly changed Vendar's view on what kind of god Bahamut is.
Oh yeah, it absolutely affected Leah as well there.
Interesting. So you guys are separating yourself from the group and cleaning armor. Now, I assume, Tatsuya, you would not be doing that near Yukikaze, or would you have stayed nearby? Like, they all went off to learn magic, you want to separate yourself, but here's another person who is also clearly fighter, a warrior, a soldier, focusing on cleaning their armor, and seems to be the champion of Bahamut, a person that you are championing yourself. Does that influence your decision at all?
As far as I recall, Yukikaze wasn't a huge voice in the Tatsuya bashing, correct?
He wasn't there at all.
He was not very outspoken, no. I don't think he said anything for or against you.
I think.
Well,
for
your previous information, I did kind of give you crap when we first were met up with you, but I didn't lay into you anymore.
Tatsuya, I don't think would completely just like go into another room. He just probably wouldn't like necessarily engage like right up next to him.
Ah, okay. You're just in your respective corners. The sound of polishing and scrubbing.
Yeah.
And not else between you.
Yes.
Below, you can hear the sounds of cooking, and the smells of cooking begin to waft up. You find yourselves idly wondering if it's much harder to cook in a moving building.
How much does the building shake as we move?
Surprisingly, a lot less than you would have expected. There, you do find that there are times that you even forget that you're moving, but it is not nothing. Like, and when it is noticeable, you're usually jolted back to remembering that it's moving constantly because it, like, hits a bump, is what it feels like, as the whole thing suddenly shudders, and you look up and you see that the trees are moving outside the window, and you go, oh yeah, moving house. That kind of thing.
So not quite like when we were in the cart.
No, the cart was constantly bumping and plodding. This seems to have something about it, makes it a little less obvious.
Better inertial dampeners.
Could be. Magic's a strange and wonderful thing, isn't it? Well then. I'll do a last go around. Does anybody have any questions they wish to ask? Whether it's people getting the lesson about magic, or if even one of them wants to say, hey, I meant to ask something of somebody. Anything? In character, out of character?
No, I think I've pretty well covered what I've got for now.
Devil?
No, I can't think of anything.
Endar?
Nah.
Leah?
No.
Raiken? Tatsuya,
Nope.
excuse me.
Mm.
Yukikaze?
No.
MamaMendis?
I just do want to say, while giving the lesson, MamaMendis is pulling out his book and like flipping back to really, really early in it, frequently, to look at his notes from when he was in class.
There you go. Eventually you find that this beard is getting a little itchy under the nose. I almost feel like you need to sneeze.
I think he will.
Predictably or unpredictably, as the case may be, your long sage-like beard explodes, and feathers rain down over you and your students.
Now I'm even more confused.
That should be familiar to Leah and Vindar.
Yeah. When was it that something like that happened?
I think it was pretty much when I first joined.
Was there a wild magic sorcerer?
No, somebody else had someone before Bruenor had the axe, which was also a belt of dwarven kind.
Alright.
Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Raiken.
Yes,
Yeah, it was like.
the Dwarvenborn.
Yes, that's right, the dwarven one. That was funny.
Axe of the
Anyway.
Dwarven Lords.
Axe the Dwarvish Lords was weird. I don't want to. Alright then.
Buried under that town with Bruenor.
I mean, yeah, that's where you left it.
Unless someone dug it up.
No, we can't get it back. Remember the frickin' thing took it with him?
Yeah.
No,
You
I mean,
buried
he
it.
just buried it. Yeah.
He never wanted the Earth Elemental never wanted it in the hands of mortals ever again.
true, but I don't think he had a way to take it with him.
Well,
Speaking
you just
of
filled in the beholder's
speaking of
pit.
this situation though, since Vendor wasn't there, Leah would bump into Vendor after the bear explodes and be like, "Didn't that didn't that also remind you about like when Raiken grew a beard?"
Yeah. Did his explode in feathers?
no.
I don't think so.
I guess his beard did grow awfully fast there. I just thought that was MamaMendis.
I've been traveling with this man for 3.5 months. I've never seen anything like this happen, but he is magic, so I'm not going to question it.
They did see him grow a beard when the
Yeah, when
banshee
he got aged.
scared
Yeah,
him.
he suddenly grew a beard.
When he aged
And his hair
like
turned
60
black.
years in the course of 12 seconds.
It was great. You guys,
He did grow a beard.
with all of the failing of the saves. Amazing.
It was impressive how horribly I failed so many of those saves.
It's a good thing you're an elf.
Yeah, it would have been entirely possible for me to die.
Yeah, it's like the halfling did.
Yeah.
Oh. I have his name written down somewhere. I just can't remember what it is.
I just put my notes away.
Mhm.
But it's in there. Anyway, then I shall call it there. Everyone, please take 1100 XPs.
How much did you say?
1100.
1100.
Okay.
I'm less than 6,000 from level 16.
I'm still a ways out.
Today was our roleplay recovery after fighting a horrible boss.
I would need to
But
kill
were
another
there
player
any
to level.
were there any inspirations given?
Mendar needs inspirations given.
Were
Mendar
there
has
any?
inspiration.
Oh, were there any? Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Yes. I did enjoy the interplay between Leah and Tatsuya, and Leah and the mother. So, you both may.
Yay.
Yeah. I think everyone did a good job. Thank you for today.
You're welcome.
Likewise.
And
Woo!
I will see you next week as we continue the trip. Autumn's Elegy.
Yay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hi.
Bye, stream.
Ooh.